Awesome. Welcome to the webinar. Again, we're going to talk about how to find, hire, and onboard part-time employees for your small business. A bit about me. I'm Olivier. I'm one of the co-founders at Activity Messenger, but I have been running sports and leisure businesses for the last 12 years. And the way it works is we have multiple locations. So we have locations on the North Shore of Montreal and Ottawa and Quebec City. And we hired hundreds of part-time coaches and camp counselors over the last, it says 10 years, but now 12 years. Most of them were from Gen Z. So we would hire a lot of people, within, I guess, 16 to like 25 years old. And during COVID, we, like everybody else, we got a big hit. A lot of our team left and, kind of moved on to other things. So we had to, and we that's the time we expanded as well. So when we reopened up, we actually expanded. So we had to double our needs for our staff. And I just want to talk about like how we used to hire many years ago, how that evolved, with what happened with COVID, but also just tools to make that we were able to streamline the process. Here's what we learned throughout those years about Gen Zs. One of the things is they love SMS, right? And they don't check email regularly. So I remember, 10 years ago, I would send an email to a coach or staff, and it's like the response was like really quick. And it was really nice for that. And now I just realize that they don't have the same they don't check their emails the same way. They're a lot of times on their phone. I mean, times have evolved. And they also like it when it's simple, but they're also able to change quick ideas quickly. So they like that speed is a factor as well. So it's just, those are personal kind of things that I've seen the market shift in terms of hiring for part-time positions, for something like a coach, a camp counselor, and things like that. Um, so what we changed, right? So what did we used to do and now we kind of changed? One thing we actually did is we stopped requiring a CV, and we made it easier to apply on mobile. And the idea behind that was that, again, more and more people are on their phones and they might be on the bus, they might see our ads, our job somewhere, and they're like, oh, that looks interesting. And then it's like, oh, I'll wait till I get home to find my CV and upload and send an email, to apply for the position. Well, in some cases, that's not necessarily like the ideal thing because they might forget or they might not do it. And we also found that we had a lot of quality applicants that already had a job and were just looking to work 3 to 5 hours because we had these small blocks. And they were, if we made it hard for them to apply, they were kind of coming in more for a fun job to like keep having fun in their job and they had a full-time job. So we had a few of those. And by making it really easy to apply, that helped a lot. The other thing we did is we leveraged SMS to communicate with applicants, right? So if people apply and then we reply by email, not impossible, it goes to spam. We all get a lot of emails. They might miss your email. So we use Activity Messenger to send both emails and SMS, right? So we make sure we're not losing a candidate. Like that's like a nightmare almost. You have like the perfect candidate you want to hire, they want to hire, and they just don't see your email, or whatever it is, or they don't respond to your call, whatever it is, you're able to do it with SMS and email. We moved our first interviews on Zoom. That was because of COVID, but we kept it there as well. Because what we really liked about that was that, again, we could streamline it through software, but then we could also, have more open spots for those interviews, the first interview. And if somebody didn't show up, if somebody canceled, well, we would just keep working, right? It didn't stop the flow of our day. And that we found really useful to just be a bit more optimized and keep your day going. And then the last thing we did is we moved everything online. So we used to, have people sign their contracts on paper, send the schedule by Excel. I always remember at one point it changed when an employee told me I don't have Excel. You're sending me something I can't open. I was like, oh, times are changing. Like, Google Sheets is obviously a way, but I was just surprised we kind of moved everything to online, and we automated those processes. Then we also found new ways to find applicants because we had to hire so many applicants. Some of the best ways we found was leveraging Facebook groups. So that was actually really good. So if you have local Facebook groups for people that are looking for part-time jobs, for non-for-profits, for sports and leisure, camp counselors, or just area like jobs in Laval, jobs in Boston, whatever area you might be in, those were great. And the thing we realized is we put out a nice picture, but again, we didn't put the email us your CV that we usually see, right? We put a link to that form. And the beauty of that again was that people that were not necessarily looking for a job, wow, that's a cool, like I want to work with kids. Like that sounds fun. And they would just click on the form fill it out really quickly, and then we would just start the conversation there. It brought in not only more applicants, we had more quality applicants, although it did also bring in less good quality. But at the end of the day, we could filter that really easily afterwards, right? So we just want to make it kind of easy there. Other thing we found that worked well was farming our current customers for talents. So we would send our newsletter to our clients to sign up for next session for whatever the newsletter might be about. And then we would say, hey, we are looking for the best coaches to continue and serve you the best we can. Like they know what type of coaches we're looking for or what kind of staff we're looking for because they interact with them on a weekly basis. Like we had weekly classes. So I told them, do you know anybody around you that might be a good coach, right? So because our clients had like first hand knowledge of the type of personalities we would hire, it actually helped people refer some of their cousins or friends or whatever it is that were good for the job. Uh, Partnering with other local businesses, great way as well. The online form allows you to have a QR code. So if you can go to places where the youth or the people you're looking for kind of congregate or go, it's a great way if you can partner up and just say, hey, I'd love to post or I'd love to talk about this job opportunity to members of this area or business. Local schools and universities, great as well. So if you have jobs that kind of help people in a certain program studying, right? And it gives them a good experience. It's a great way to kind of reach out and say, hey, we have this. And one thing we saw at our business was that we would love to hire people who wanted to become phys ed teachers, right? They had like a 4-year degree here in Montreal, but like they were, sometimes working at Tim Hortons or any other place. And it was like, oh, I could actually work in a program that's going to help me develop skills that I'll then need in my career, right? So if you have that connection between the job, even though it's part-time, and local schools and universities, a great way to do it. And then the last one, I actually just found out about it. You have to pay for it, but it's what I used to try this, 5, 6 years in the past. I would go on LinkedIn and try to find people who made sense for the jobs I was looking for. Now, one thing we realized was that nobody was there, right? But then I just went back like in the last few weeks, and I realized actually now more and more students, university, or even high school students are putting up on LinkedIn. It's kind of becoming a virtual world when it comes to CVs. And LinkedIn Recruiter Lite allows you to um, go and I'll show it later in the presentation, but it allows you to kind of filter and say, I'm looking for people in this area that have this type of experience. So I put, let's say, swim school, gymnastics teachers, camps, counselors, things like that, whatever I'm looking for. And then I would also be able to say, and I want people who are going to graduate in the next 3 to 4 years, right? And so knowing they are students, but they have that kind of experience, and I'm able to message based on those filters that I put in. And then the flow. So then now that those are like tips that I've, learned throughout the years. They might not apply perfectly to you, but I'm just kind of sharing what I've seen, what I've shared with other organizations that use Activity Messenger for this. So we have over 400 clients, and every time I've been sharing, those are some of the things that kind of stood out. And then this is what would happen as a workflow, right? So the knowledge I just shared was like what we see in the market. And then it's like, okay, how do we respond to these trends? First, we moved our application form to a form where people would simply click on a link and, fill out the form. As soon as they fill out a form, we get a notification saying somebody applied, and then we would respond really quickly with an SMS or email, right? Because we also figured that a lot of the good candidates or better candidates that were good fits, they were not just applying for one job. They were in a job search and they were reaching out to other businesses. And it's like, you want to be first, right? You want to be able to respond quickly. And I think that says a lot as well because they're gonna be like, oh, we're gonna have the communication is there already, right? So that really helps kind of show your professionalism and your way that you can actually, respond quickly to people applying. And then from there, you could put a link to another form to schedule an interview. That's what we did. We brought it to Zoom. You obviously don't have to do it that way. You can have, in person, but you might have a booking system where people can pick and choose the spots. So you know when people are going to be coming in. And then the last thing is like we have an email template that goes out and says, hey, congratulations, you got the job. And now here are all the forms you need to fill out. And we get all these forms like filled before they even come on the first day. That helps us just, make sure the first day is all about, getting them onboarded, getting them used to the team or to whatever their role is going to be. And what we've seen through all of that is it helped a lot with immediate reception. So as soon as somebody applied, we were really quick to get it. It didn't fall into like an email list of like we couldn't find it. We get either an SMS or a notification. So that was really quick for us. It allowed us like, 360 view of all the documents of employees. We were able to track who has not signed as well. So all the whole onboarding process, because it was online, it was a lot easier for us to like visualize, okay, we got, 60 part-time employees, which ones have not signed yet versus maybe paper and email and scanning and things like that. Helped us save a lot of time. We were able to remove the pen and paper, and, access certification and documents that our employees were able to upload. And lastly, I just want to show like what the workflow looks like in kind of a more like workflow. So you have the application form where people kind of apply. And then when you're interested, you send the SMS straight to an interview form. Then you email or SMS a job offer, and then you digitally onboard your new staff member. So that's a very quick summary of what we see on the market and how we could use, software like Activity Messenger to kind of streamline these operations. What I want to do next is actually show you exactly how we do it in the software, but I might pause here if anybody has questions on what they just heard, ideas, or anything like that. If you have a question, let me know. Amazing. Okay, cool. So I know a few of you are already clients of Activity Messenger. I know others are not. So Activity Messenger does a lot, but today we're only going to talk about staff recruitment and forms. So what we see here is a staff recruitment form in Activity Messenger that is our form builder. So it's a very simple drag and drop. One thing that's pretty cool is we integrate with Canva, so your forms are always going to be on brand. And then you can put the context, the text that you want. You can also decide which information you want to collect on the applicant. When it came to personal information, what we found was the best was having it the least possible. So we really made name, email, mobile required. Other things you can ask for is like a start date. Do people have access to a car? Can they work on a specific day? Have you ever worked with, at that type of job? Are you still in school? So open-ended question, yes, no questions, things like that. And you can even have people upload either their CV or if you want, if you are working, for like, let's say camp counselors and you want to see how the person, I'm going to use the word bubbly, but just how they interact. Well, you can ask them, they just flip their phone, they record a quick video on why they want the job, and that kind of speeds up the process. Now, it might reduce the number of applicants, but if you're getting a lot of applicants and you want to like filter quickly, this could be a good way of doing it. And lastly, you can add in everything in orange is actually only visible to administrators. So the person filling it out will not see it. And a lot of times these are used after the fact. So after they applied, you can make those modifications. So for example, before the webinar, I went in and I filled it out. So what does that look like? I go to visit or fill, kind of go through the form. So it looks exactly, and again, they don't see an orange, but it looks exactly like the form I just built here. Then you can go into respondents, and this is where you'll have my application here, right? And what you can do is you can filter by visible columns. So all the questions that you create on that form are then visible for you to kind of analyze if you want. And one thing that's pretty cool is you can filter. So let's say the role you're looking for is, needs access to a car, right? So you would put this in here, click on save, and then you would say yes. So from there, I can go in filter my column and go for, do you have access to a car? And let's say I filtered it to no, you're going to see that I'm going to disappear, right? So you can filter based on the answers to really reduce, let's say you had a lot of applicants and you want to look at specific things that are important for the role. The other thing is then you can see that I can go into the account and say, do I move to Zoom interview? Are they going to the next step? Yes or no, right? So that's going to help you filter afterwards. And then you can add maybe an admin note. Hey, I sent an SMS on that date or whatever it might be. You can add admin notes. And that's going to allow you to really see an overview of all the applicants, all the jobs, but also if there's more than one person that's kind of recruiting, you're going to be able to put your notes on different things, right? So if it filters through a different process, a more extensive process with multiple people, those admin notes become very, very valuable. Lastly, I think is important is in your options, you can have a notify admin when a form is filled. So as soon as that form is filled, you can decide which admin gets either an email or an SMS. And you can have forms for different jobs, right? So maybe you have part-time roles, but you also probably have full-time roles, right? And maybe the full-timers are not interviewed by the same person or their CV is not analyzed by the same person. So we'd be able to create two forms and then notification go to the right person, which might not be the same in those two cases. And lastly, I go to my respondents. I can select the ones that I want to move to the next interview, and I click on the button here, click on message, and then this is where I would decide how I want to communicate. Do I want to go by email, email and SMS, or SMS only? So then I can say I want to text this candidate. Oops, I'll just stay here for now, but I just want to show you can add a template. And I had a template here that says, sorry, Zoom interview, right? So basically what that does is it's going to pre-populate a template that I built already. It's going to say, hey, first name, we'd love to, go over Zoom over this coaching position. Click on this link to book your interview, right? So that's one way you're able to move it through. Again, this message could be changed, but it just allows you to get a notification and really quickly communicate with the person looking for a job. So that's the kind of application form workflow. Before I get into like the interview form, like the next step, anybody have questions here that that they might want to ask? Amazing. Okay, so let's move to the next form. So I just, saw Olivier. I was like, okay, I want to apply. I want to, talk to this person. I want to interview them. So I send them a text, and now when they click, it's going to open up this form, right? And again, you can modify this. Cool part about it is that now we have their information. It's actually going to pre-populate all this information. So we're not asking them to fill it out again. All we're going to ask them is say, where are you looking? When can you take a job? The job interview, right? And this is super simple. You would go in and put your schedule, right, of all the dates, and you just kind of, as you go, add in new schedules. And you can make it a one-on-one. You can have 3 spots for group interviews, whichever you want. But what that looks like is when they click on that SMS, they open up, it's going to populate their information, and then they go in and they say, okay, I want to come at the 2:30 on Friday. And again, this is orange. It's just because I'm in Mint. They don't see it. They click submit. So it's like a one-click thing, and they're already scheduled for an interview, right? And then if I go to my respondents, I now see who has scheduled an interview and on which dates. The system also allows you to send an SMS, let's say 2 hours before the interview with, hey, this is what we're going to be discussing. Just a reminder, it starts on this. Here's the link for Zoom, or here's the location of the interview. Let's say it was in-person interview. So we can send those reminders based on which date they selected. And again, at this stage, there's going to be other questions, right? Because this is going to be kind of my note taking that might happen during the interview. So as I'm doing the interview, I can add admin notes. I can add, like they mention when their start date actually is. I put it in there. And then I can also decide yes or no, am I hiring them or not, right? So again, I'm able to interact with the information that's coming in either by a form or during the interview to really make sure that as an organization, we really see all the applicants and everybody interacting with these forms have the same information. And then from there, was there another question? No, I think that was good. Any questions on maybe the interview process or forms that we built here?
My only question is, I don't see how you go from one form to the other. Like, how do you link them together?
Yes, absolutely. Great question. Sorry. So let me go right into application. So let's just go Zoom interview, right? So what you see here is the template that I used when it went from somebody applied and now I want to get in with an interview, right? So in that email template or SMS, right, that I send out, I have, personalization here, but I have a call to action. And that call to action, now it wasn't even well connected, but then I can go and decide which form I want them to go to, right? So when they get that email or SMS, they click on that and that opens up the next form. So
That I
there's
get, but how did you send this form with the button on it? How did that go? Did you say send on the next level and then it just automatically knew to send that email, or how did that,
Yeah,
or was that a
exactly. So
completely
if I go
separate, disparate, form?
Yeah. So basically, I would come here. These are the people who applied, right? And then I can
Yeah.
filter, do I want yes or no, move to the interview? And then I select them and I click message. And
Oh,
then that
okay.
brings me into an email or SMS that goes to the next level. And that's where I can select the template that I want, right?
Okay.
So, and
So
then
there's a part
within,
where you have to make sure you pick the right template when you do
well,
that.
yeah, exactly. So you always
Yeah.
want to pick the right template, and especially you want to make sure you're picking the right people, right? So like that's when
Yeah.
you kind of go in, you go review, like, oh, I like this. So I just go click, pick the right template and send it out. Exactly.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. And just to kind of go continue a bit on that, let's say hired employees, and this is where I'm going next. Well, then it's a different email, right? So we saw that the first template was get to the interview, and then I'm like, hey, you got selected to be part of the team. Congratulations and welcome to the team. And then I have a call to action here that's going to bring me to the next step I'm going to show you, which is a staff onboarding portal where they're going to fill out all the employment documents. So again, I would go to my interview forms and I would say, okay, I want to hire this person, click on message, and then go through that process where it's not going to be this template, but I will go into hired employee, right? So it's gonna create the employee message here, and you just send it out by SMS or email. As soon as the person clicks on that email or that SMS, they go into what we call our staff portal, right? Staff onboarding portal. So here, what we have is a very simple drag and drop. So you can build out this employee forms module that you're only going to give access to new employees so they can come in and fill out their employee contract, right? So you'd put in, and I read and accept, and they're going to go in and sign this. It's going to create a PDF for the organization, but as well as one for the employee who's going to get it. Maybe payroll information. So you want to collect bank information, uploading their CPR certification, maybe more information on when they can work. So again, these are all fully customizable to your needs, but it just puts all those forms into a single kind of portal where people are linked to. And most importantly, this is all mobile friendly, right? So again, more and more people are on their phone. And if you can make that, transition from being hired all the way to being fully onboarded as seamless as possible and as mobile first as possible, I think that's a good win for hiring, multiple part-time staff. And I also show other stuff. So it's not only the onboarding portion, but it might also be um, your ongoing forms, right? So one example would just be able to go see the staff manual or training videos, asking for time off, right? So instead of getting, a text, an email, a Facebook message, somebody writing it on paper, it's like all over the place, and you got to kind of accumulate that. You just say, no, you need to go through the portal, which has its unique link and even a unique QR code that you can put in the staff room, and then say, fill them out there. So when they go and fill it out, what happens is they can go in and select the dates that they don't want to work or they can't work. They can put in a reason and they can go and fill it out, right? And you can add signatures, whatever you want. You can make it as simple or as complex as you want. But as they submit this, the beauty of that is that you will get a notification. But also, when you get to the form, you have the analytics, and it's going to build you a calendar of all the staff that had requested time off. So you can see it at a calendar view, which is the best view, I think, for for seeing it, because then you can see, oh, I got these two, people that at the same time, do I have enough staff, right? It just gives you a nice overview of, when people had requested time off instead of being kind of maybe all over the place or just looking through your email, then you make a mistake, then you're understaffed. So it just really helps you kind of get an overview in that manner. Um, so that's a bit the overview of the